Hi, welcome to class 6 part 1. In this class we will study some user interface interaction, and for that we will use jQuery as our case study. Okay, what would be very useful for you to know before we actually study it? Well, some HTML, some CSS, and JavaScript. However, because of time and you don't have a knowledge about that, don't worry a lot. We will go into some of the basic details that you need. I mean, by knowing this will really help. Then what is jQuery? Well, jQuery is a JavaScript library. That's what is useful to know, JavaScript. And then that was something that should have been discussed in the previous class. And the idea is that this will simplify Java. It's really easy to learn, and the main thing is that we're going to have some type of interaction. I mean, this will help us, the user, to do some manipulation like dropping items, dragging items, and so on. In the jQuery library, we will have some the main thing is that we're manipulating several objects like the one that or effects like the ones that are being described here, and even more things. So why are we using jQuery? Well, the main thing is it is easy, and most people and most applications are using jQuery, and it seems that it is easy to extend, and and, and, uh, and we will get very amazing applications with very little effort. How is that we will make our web pages, our regular web pages, to be able to work with jQuery? Well, there are two ways. We can download the jQuery library from the jQuery.com, or we can have in place a link to the jQuery library from CDNN, which means the Content Delivery Network, like Google. So it's like the code is placed there and we make a reference. Um, when you go to the jQuery.com to download the versions, you will have what we call the product version or the developer version. And depending what is it that we want to do is the version that we will download. So most people, I think what they do is they download the library and they include it inside the HTML document a statement that looks like this. This is script source, and it's making a reference to the file that we downloaded. So in this case, that file that we downloaded, it should be placed in the same directory as the HTML document that contains this statement. Now, if you are using the Content Delivery Network, look at the difference. So here I make and said, okay, I have it on my, I downloaded it, it's on my account. And then here I'm making a reference, so it says source. So this is the only difference. So it's the same file, but it's placed in two different locations. So the main thing is that we want to do some manipulation, and the way that we do is that we select or query object, HTML elements or objects. We perform actions on them by that, that way, selecting and performing an action. So this is the last slide. After that, we're going to have some examples on this main thing that I want you to understand today. So this is the basic syntax. We got the $sign, we got the selector, and then we got the action. So the $sign defines the access to the jQuery, and then let's go into the selector now here, like in these examples. So here in the selector, we're talking about the current element, the element that we say, and then this will be the action, so hide that element. So here all the elements that have that P. So in this case the paragraph or the HTML. So here the ones when we got the dot, that means the one with that class, that may be multiple different type of objects. And in this case, this is a specific object that contains the ID test. So now we will go on some examples to illustrate this. Okay, so this is our first example. In this side is my HTML code, and this is how that looks in my browser. So let's first understand the components of this HTML document. So this says that this is an HTML document, then this is the tag for the beginning of the HTML document, the opening tag, and this is the closing tag, right? So now this section is the body. This is what we see here, and on here it says heading 2, and then maybe header can further explain just an expert in HTML. So here is identifying this, and this is a class, and then it says this is the heading, so corresponds to this, and this is the type that is H2, and then the P and the P here, a paragraph, and this is the text. Okay, so this is a paragraph, shows here, this is a paragraph, and then this defines a button. Look at how you see an opening and a closing, and then that's the button, it says click me. Okay, so this is what we see. This is the segment of what we see, right? Now let's identify something else. This object H2, which corresponds to this, belongs to class test, and this also belongs to class test, right? So these two objects belongs to that class. So now here in the script, remember that we need to have a link to the JavaScript, to the jQuery library, right? So we need this. So this is what we're including. So now this is what we were discussing. So here it says when the document is ready, finish, loading. Then it says here when they click on the button. So this is the button. So when they click, then that test means all the ones that belongs to the class test, we will hide it, and that's it. So click on the button, and there are two elements that we're hiding. So this wasn't hiding because this doesn't have the class tag. So let's look into two more examples. Okay, so this is my second example. So this is similar to the other one. So it's an HTML. So here is my script. Now let's see what we have here. So now button click. So when we click on the button, now we got the pound. So if you don't remember what I'm talking about when it's a dot, when it's a pound, let's go back to the PowerPoint that I was showing where it says the selectors. Then you can also now the pound, this case will refer with an object, an element that has the ID test. So we go into here, so this is H2, P, and P. So these are my three elements. They correspond to 1, 2, 3. It's actually 4 elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. From those 4 elements, one has the ID test. So that's the one that we're hiding. Only that, the one that says this is another paragraph. So we click, that's the only one that hides. You see? So if I wanted to hide multiple, then I will use class. So let's go into a third example. Okay, so this is the third example. So here, again, it's very similar the code that we got before, but now it says P. So now in this case will be all elements. So in my first example, they were related with a class. On my second example, I was using an ID. So now here, anything that is a P, that is an element to type P or P. So in this case, this and this, right? So this one is something else. Kind of similar to class, but class can have elements that are different classes. So here we click, these are the ones that have been eliminated. Okay, so this is our next example. So in this example, we will working with a draggable object. So look at this object here. Then I'm clicking and dragging. So this is what I'm doing. So now let's look over here. And then actually this will be my first activity for today. I want you to implement this. I will tell you what to do. So here, this is the source. So here, let's understand. This looks a little more complex. So in this case, has the title for the page, it has all this information, and then here it has some scripts for the library and styles. Okay, we don't need to worry about those for now. So here is defining one of the objects that I'm going to have, which is this rectangle that I'm calling draggable. And then for that, it has some properties, some attributes, width and height that are indicated there. Okay, so just defining that. And then here it says when in that draggable, has the property of dragging the draggable. That object, this object has this. This is the action. Remember that this is the selector and this is the action. So the action is that this is draggable. So now this is what we see. So here is defining what we see in the HTML is this is just one object. It has an ID. So remember we got the power talking about an ID. And then inside that object we put in the text drag me around. And that's it. So look, you click and you do this. Okay, I will show you another example, which will be my last example for today, and then I'm going to tell you how to implement the activity. Okay, this is my fifth example, and this is, I want you to implement at least the last two examples that I'm doing today. So now here, I'm dragging this, but this can also be dropped there. You see now it changes, it says drop it. Okay, so let's view the source. Similar to the others. So this is the HTML. Here is the scripts, the libraries that we need. But now we're looking at two different objects, right? So I need to define those objects here, where it says a style between those two. And then here, that is the ID for that object. And these are the properties, the characteristics of that object. And then here, I'm identifying the object. And then I say that this object is draggable. And then this is droppable. And then it says here when they drop, and this it says that we will highlight it, and then we will put the HTML, the paragraph that says drop it. So we put in that text over there. So this is what we want that to happen. This will be my whole action. So here, from here is the first object. This is the text inside the object, and this is the second object. Okay, so it looks like this. How is that I want you to implement this? Okay, I'm placing two files in the activity section for this class that you only need to download it and open it. Download it as an HTML and then open it, and then you can see the jQuery in action. Okay. So there are two files that I want you to do, and if there is more time, you can implement more. So one easy way to do it is that you download it and then open that in Notepad++, and then from there is an option here that says run, and then you select in which browser you want to see it, and maybe launch in Chrome. Okay, thank you.